For years, the Real Housewives of New Jersey world has revolved around one of the most heartbreaking family fractures reality TV has ever seen: Teresa Guidice and her brother Joe Gorga. Their feud went beyond television. It tore through holidays, birthdays, weddings, and childhood memories, leaving their daughters, who once grew up as inseparable cousins, living separate lives as if they weren't blood. Fans watched every explosive moment, every tear, every accusation, never knowing if the damage was permanent. But now, after years of silence and bitterness, something happened that no one believed would ever become reality again. A reunion so emotional, so unexpected, and so raw that it shook the entire Bravo fandom to its core. And the moment was so powerful. It didn't happen at a restaurant or a set or a luxury home. It took place at the cemetery where Teresa and Joe's late parents are buried, the one place capable of breaking down the toughest walls and reminding them of what they once meant to each other. Before we dive deeper into the twists, the tears, and the revelations from that day, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss the inside story behind Bravo's most shocking reunions and emotional turnarounds. Teresa described the reunion with a mix of gratitude and relief. She admitted how much it meant to her that she and Joe finally stood face to face again, away from the fans, the pressure, and the chaos. She spoke about how heartbreaking it has been for her daughters, Gia, Gabriella, Melania, and Adriana, who haven't seen Antonia, Gino, or Joey Gorga for years, despite once being as close as siblings. Teresa's voice softened when she said she loves her nephews and niece deeply and wants them back in her life. She even mentioned that Gino is her godson and Antonia her only niece from her brother's side. For a woman who has built her entire identity on family loyalty, the separation left a mark that no camera could fully capture. But the most surprising twist wasn't that they reunited, it was how it happened. Teresa didn't choose to meet Joe and Melissa together. She met Joe alone first, a decision she insisted was important. She wanted to reconnect with her brother as just that, her brother. No fans, no producers, no spouses, just two siblings standing in the most sacred place tied to their shared past. And Joe, despite his tough exterior and bold personality, clearly felt the same. At BravoCon, he spoke openly about missing Teresa and longing for his nieces. He said with emotion in his voice that he wants them back in his life, that family should never have reached this point, and that the reunion felt sentimental, something he didn't expect after so many years of cold distance. Then came the second part of the reunion, Teresa and Louis sitting down with Joe and Melissa. Fans held their breath at the idea of these four people sharing a table again. But according to Teresa, it went amazing, something she genuinely didn't expect. Joe returned home from that meeting with a kind of relief Melissa hadn't seen in him for years. She said the look on his face told her everything she needed to know, that a weight had finally lifted off his shoulders, and that for the first time in a long time, there was hope. Melissa described the moment as emotional, heartfelt, and shockingly natural, almost like the family had simply pressed unpause instead of repair. The reunion didn't end at BravoCon either. Melissa later went on Bravo's Holiday Spectacular and called it a Christmas miracle, emphasizing that this healing moment wasn't just overdue, it was necessary. She admitted they thought things would happen slowly, step by step, but instead, the love and connection they once had came rushing back faster than expected. To her, the relief in Joe's eyes was everything. It reminded her that family, real family, never truly lets go, even after the darkest storms. The days leading up to BravoCon became the true turning point in this emotional storyline. Because what happened after that cemetery meeting was more powerful than anything fans have seen on screen. Teresa and Joe didn't just walk away from that moment with polite words or empty promises. They walked away lighter, as if years of resentment had finally started to melt off their shoulders. They carried that same energy into their meeting with Melissa and Louis. A sit-down that easily could have gone wrong, but instead went so right that even Teresa seemed shocked by how naturally they slipped back into a rhythm that once defined the Gorga Guidice family. The tension that fans had been conditioned to expect simply wasn't there. No raised voices, no accusations, no old wounds being ripped open. Instead, They talked like people who finally accepted that the battles of the past didn't matter as much as the years they had already lost. Melissa later admitted that she had prepared for the worst, expecting guarded comments, defensive energy, or even a round of emotional distance. But what she found in that room was something she hadn't felt in years: peace. She said seeing Joe reconnect with his sister, seeing the genuine relief in his eyes, made her realize just how deeply this feud had affected every inch of their marriage and their family. It wasn't just a sibling feud anymore. It had become the atmosphere they all lived in. And for a moment, Melissa set aside every Bravo storyline, every on-camera fight, every rumor, every hurtful comment, and simply looked at a family that was finally beginning to heal. But the reunion didn't just change Joe and Teresa. It ignited hope in the next generation, the children who had nothing to do with the drama, yet spent years separated because of it. Teresa spoke with a kind of maternal urgency when she said she wanted her daughters to reunite with their cousins, emphasizing how important those bonds are. She said she wants Gino, her godson, and Antonia, her only niece from her brother's side, to be in her life again. These weren't lines meant for a storyline. They were the words of a mother who had watched too much time pass while her children grew up apart from the family that once meant everything to them. In a moment that surprised even the Bravo audience, Teresa admitted that losing her parents changed everything for her. With them gone, Joe became her only remaining immediate family, the last living link to the two people who shaped their lives. That realization, she said, is what pushed her to take the first step. It wasn't about cameras or ratings or public image. It was about finally putting love before pride and healing before dramatics. And when Joe echoed those feelings at BravoCon, saying he wanted his nieces back in his life and that the reunion was sentimental and necessary, fans finally saw the walls between them beginning to crumble. This wasn't a perfect ending. It wasn't wrapped in a neat bow or sealed with a dramatic declaration. There are still years of pain that won't disappear overnight. There are still wounds that need time, effort, and patience to close. But what the fans witnessed, what the cast felt, and what the family themselves experienced was something rare in the Housewives universe. A beginning instead of an ending. A chance to rebuild. A chance to forgive. A chance to go back to what matters most. A Christmas miracle, as Melissa put it, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. And as Teresa said with a softness fans haven't heard from her in years, the future looks amazing. Maybe for the first time in a long time, she's right. The story of the Gorga Guidice family isn't closing, it's reopening. Not with a fight, not with a headline, but with hope.